We are all appointed by God to a mission. Introduction. Whether we like it or not, and regardless of being atheists, non-believers, non-religious or agnostic, we are all on a mission from God, believers and non-believers alike. God's mission is our redemption, our recovery from our fallen nature, to obtain atonement and salvation from the grasp of this dark world ruled by Satan, and to find the entrance of paradise. If we think we're in control of our lives because we do not believe in a divine being, is it the other way around? How can we be in control of our lives if we're living in a godless land full of clay idols, a 21st century Babylon, a godless and decadent civilization full of idols where ungodliness and wickedness suppress our inner divinity and increase the weight and chains that tie our fallen nature even more to this world? The task at hand. If we decide to accept the task of our redemption, we have the invaluable example of Jesus, who walked this earth full of grace and truth. John 1:14. He was sinless, full of grace, and in constant communication with his Father in heaven through the Holy Spirit, full of truth. He received the task of redeeming our humanity and fulfilled his mission in Galilee, Judea, and other areas including Perea and Samaria. What about us? Where should we attempt to fulfill the mission that God has given us for our individual redemption? Where has God placed you? Your home, your workplace, your school, your neighborhood, your city, they are all part of your mission field. Those are your divine appointments because God has strategically placed you there to be ambassadors of Christ. Where God has placed you on the map is where He wants you to live your mission. Eric Eccles, 2023, Living with Gospel Intentionality, ericeccles.net. For guidance, you can use God's sacred word contained in the Holy Scriptures that were written by the prophets inspired by the Holy Spirit to motivate and direct your work. And this way you will surely grow your love and your grace so you can be as well inspired within your heart by the Holy Spirit. Love and compassion. Mercy is the towering rule of Christ's kingdom. Matthew 9:13. Jesus reformulates the teaching of Leviticus 19:2, replacing the command to imitate Yahweh's holiness with a command to imitate His mercy. Unfortunately, compassion is almost disappearing now. The world is almost completely void and empty of compassion. Gabriel Ram, 2022. This explains how our nations have so many psychopaths, leading them to their destruction. If you don't feel compassion, you have a heart of stone. Even though it is very difficult to find nowadays true love in this world, there is a loving fire inside our hearts whose flames cannot be turned off, and that can give us strength to walk without fear in this dark world. Prayer, grace, and truth. Due to the darkness of our world atmosphere, Jesus prayed constantly to be in touch with His Father in heaven. He was always full of grace and truth, sinless, and in touch with the Holy Spirit. John K. Kotsonis, PhD, in his academic paper Unceasing Prayer of 2024, shared several valuable insights about the importance of unceasing prayer for our spiritual freedom. He asserted that Saint Theophan the Recluse, a well-known saint in the Russian Orthodox Church, said that the instability of our mind and inability of it to be here and now is one of the most drastic consequences of the fall, because that's when humans lost or abandoned direct single-minded focus on God, which is when fear of death entered our lives. Pages 14 and 15. The fathers of the church are unanimous. The author continued that it is important to remember that no real progress in prayer can be accomplished without progress and improvement in our Christian life, and that through unceasing prayer our mind is guided to become disciplined, focused, and silent. Pages 10 and 11. Grace is directly related to every man's and woman's personal purification and work towards an individual spirituality that is not going to be acquired through rules or regulations or being given to us by any institution or spiritual leader, but only through the spiritual introspection within every human heart where Christ dwells permanently. Davalos 2024 affirmed that created grace precedes uncreated grace. The Holy Spirit is given according to the gift of grace that prepares our soul. And uncreated grace is the gift of the Holy Spirit that moves and protects us. Let's consider that human created grace is the personal effort that a person makes in all humility and without any self-centredness and ego to honestly obey God's will and His life, and in every circumstance to get closer to His presence. And the uncreated grace is the compassionate action that God does, attracting that person to His healing presence and giving him or her the divine grace he needs to become available to the guidance and blessings of the Holy Spirit within his or her heart. Jesus of Nazareth implies that we live our lives away from the truth, that we are in the bondage of ignorance, because the truths of this world are not the truths of God. He said to his disciples, "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." John 8:31-32, Revised Standard Version, Second Catholic Edition. Once the grace of God is received as an uncreated gift from God, the truth of the Holy Spirit will dwell in the heart, and the smallest details and best ways to fulfill the mission that God has for every man and woman will unfold according to His perfect will. A house divided. Our world is in deadly antagonism against God, against the way of God, and against the people of God, because this antagonistic spirit is generated by the unseen prince of this world. We must stay awake and keep our guard up. John W. Rittenbaugh, 1997. The Christian and the World, cgg.org. Satan has managed to divide our spiritual loyalty, turn it from our relationship with God and His spirit of lies towards a relationship to the spirit of sin and death that we can see active everywhere in our world. Jesus reminded us through Mark 3:24-27 that a house divided against itself cannot stand, and we are that house, each one of us. And Satan has managed to divide us, our loyalties in our daily living. We were once a strong man inside our hearts, inside our house, but in order to rob us of the spirit of life, the evil one tied us with lust, and he plundered all our goods that were full of the light of the teachings of Jesus on how to live our lives. Are we double-minded in our relationship with God? Do we serve two masters? Do we have two minds? Do we have two souls? No wonder we are unstable in this world. God and the things of this world are of such opposite natures that it is impossible to love either one completely without hating the other. Those who try to love both will become unstable in all their ways. What does it mean to be double-minded? GodQuestions.org. Jesus spoke in Gethsemane about the struggle between the spiritual loyalties in the soul of man when he told his disciples, "Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, the law the spirit of life, but the flesh is weak, the law of sin and death." Matthew 26:41, Revised Standard Version, Second Catholic Edition. Look at how powerful the words of a sinless person who, being full of the grace of God, his Father in heaven, transformed our world because his words are full of truth. Jesus rightly told us, "Truly I say to you, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." Matthew 24:35, Revised Standard Version, Second Catholic Edition.